for fast, cheap, and reliable Madden 21 Ultimate Team coins. Make sure you guys go check out my sponsor, Easy Mutt. Use code VENOM at checkout for 5% off. Yo, what's good guys, Venomfire here, back from the video, and today me bringing you guys another pass defense. This one's going to be out of the nickel 3-3-5 formation, not 3-3-5 wide. A lot of people are running 3-3-5 wide to the point to where nickel 3-3-5 has actually become very underrated. As crazy as that seems, it went from being a little bit overrated to now it's underrated. So we're going to give you guys a nice defense out of that. I think it's good when you're running a 3-3-5 wide scheme or any kind of a 3-3-5 scheme to have good plays that you can go to out of both. Also, before we get into the video, make sure you guys do hit that subscribe button. About 75% of my viewers are not subscribed, so if that's you, hit that sub button, drop a like down below as well. But yeah, so interesting. Pretty much what we're going to be doing is we're just going to run a very standard coverage. Now, you can have auto flip on, but we're actually not going to adjust our zone drops. I did upload a similar concept out of 3-3-5 wide, but yeah, this is going to be just a little bit different. But kind of the same coverage. So we're going to be in just 3-3-5. I'm in the 4-6 defensive playbook. We all know, just throw your safeties at linebacker, get those 3 safeties there. And yeah, overall, put your best corners on that outside because we're going to do a little bit of man coverage. But yeah, the player running is going to be this cover 4 drop here in the middle. And yeah, let's just go ahead, get into it. I'm going to be running this against bunch. I do think it is a little bit better against bunch rather than trips. Because it's a little bit worse against those crossing route type patterns, but yeah, it's pretty good against corner routes, things like that. So overall, we'll just set up a couple of audibles here, and then we'll get into it. I'll just start out with this Z spot that is becoming very popular for good reason. So we'll just set up a pretty standard setup, something like this, just a basic setup. So as far as defense goes, what you're going to do first things first, just press your defensive backs. Again, I mentioned briefly that we were going to run some man coverage. That's exactly what we're going to do. The first adjustment you're going to do is man X on X, that solo side receiver, specifically again in bunch. This is the reason that it's really good against bunch and trips. It's a little bit iffy because then you get the question, who are you manning up in this trips tight end? Are you manning up the tight end? Or are you manning up the solo side receiver? It gets a little bit tricky in that sense, but yeah, so man up that solo side cornerback. You don't have to shade over the top or do anything because, again, we need those quarter flats. We need our match coverage to stay the same. As far as our other adjustments, the next thing that you're going to go ahead and do is turn this quarter flat here into a hard flat. So double tap that D-pad to the right, press X, push that right stick to the right to put him in a hard flat zone just like so. We got a couple more adjustments here, pretty much one more, and that's going to be to deep half the right side of the field. Cover 4, relatively easy to beat. When you deep half, it becomes very difficult. Now, what I mean by it's really easy to beat is the outside quarter zones are very, very aggressive. So when you have an aggressive zone, you're going to need help over the top, even though it looks like they're kind of running into the same way. You will see that the outside quarter is going to probably take the corner route, I would assume, out of this Z spot, and then our quarter flat is going to take the out route. So yeah, overall, pretty good concept. Now, as far as your user is concerned, you're going to be watching deep right to left. Any crossers from B or RB or a crosser from A, something like that. But again, the running back's going to be defended pretty well. We have an extra hook curl here, so we have help in the middle of the field. And overall, very good defense. Again, I'm going to run a relatively stock Z spot setup here. We're going to snap the ball, and you see B is covered well, X is covered well, and RB defended relatively well right there. So again, you saw very, very solid zone. Now this corner out's very good. It's not going to be defended perfectly every time, but you see it's relatively defended well. And you see what I mean by the aggressive quarter flat zones. Just picking up on this. And as far as our outside quarter is concerned, he didn't defend it too well this time. And there are other ways to get him to defend it a little bit better. But even if he throws it right here, it's a click on interception. And it's a really tight throw. Even here, you almost have to like low ball past the outside, which becomes very tricky, especially with an athletic corner with acrobat. So it is defended relatively well. I'm going to give you guys some other ways to run this. And another way to run kind of the same concept would be to baseline and press. So when I baseline press, I believe he's actually going to defend this Z-spot cornerback a little bit better. Don't quote me on that. But again, obviously when you're running something like this, you see that Chris Harris on that left-hand side is not in a good position. So if I set up basically our exact same coverage like this, you see that we're probably going to have to click on and just shift him over a little bit. Now again, I do recommend getting one step ahead on both outside corners if you're going to go to this a lot, because just overall you're not going to be able to shade over the top, so you're going to have to make that work. But yeah, overall, very, very solid defense, if you ask me. We'll go ahead and run kind of the same route combo here. And again, man coverage, you're just going to kind of use this route right here. But again, the corner route defended pretty solid there. Did look a little bit similar. I wasn't actually keeping my eye on that corner route too much, but did look like it was defended pretty well here. And again, you see it's just an overall really good route combo, so it's not perfect, but you see he's kind of running a little bit closer to it here. Maybe even it's overall looks like a similar coverage, but you see he's still in that area code to defend it. The out route's defended pretty well, and again, keep in mind that's a 74 overall cornerback in the slot, so he's obviously not going to play it perfect. But yeah, one thing I do want to bring up with this style of defense is that this isn't an every down style of defense. You got to mix in cover 2 or like a cover 3 Mabel. You got to mix in man coverage with something like this, and overall the reason for that is just because it's really easy to pick up on tendencies. If he sees you going with something aggressive like this, then he can easily pick it apart depending on what kind of a route combo he runs. But let's hop into a different offensive play. I'm going to go with like a smash return here. Just run a relatively basic concept with be on a fade or be on a zig, and then I'll like table route Y, and we got X on this kind of dig route. So here's the setup. They're pretty solid in my opinion. And you will see there's obviously a lot of unique routes out of Gun Bunch. That's why it's so good. So certain unique routes will beat certain coverages better. That's the name of the game. That's what you got to adjust to. But again, same coverage. And the setup was man up X on X. Put this X linebacker in a hard flat and then just deep half A. Now, normally in a perfect world, I would rather have a vert hook on this zone. I feel like it defends corner routes better. When this player is in a vert hook, he actually does usually defend that corner out at a Z spot even better. But out of this 3-3-5, and this is one of the reasons that it's not as good, I would say, as 3-3-5 wide, is I just can't put this guy in a vertical hook. I can put him in a middle read, hard flat, pretty much every zone, but you cannot get him in a vertical hook. It's a little bit annoying, but again, it's something you deal with. It's not going to be too worse than just overall the stock vert hook, but again, it's a little bit unfortunate. So here, again, I recommend putting my user on a blitz to get those better cutting animations as well. So just snap the ball. We're going to kind of lurk down. You see the zig. That's got to kind of that's got to be our guide to user, and that's why you can't just commit to the middle of the field. Again, that's the reason, because you see certain routes like a zig from that slot receiver doesn't really get picked up by our quarter flat, and our quarter flat actually ends up following Ian Thomas on here. But you see how just a different corner out. This one a little bit more shorter, I think, than the Z spot, and you see the outside quarters right there. So if I notice him going to smash return a lot, I could easily make an adjustment and actually hard flat this guy, or maybe I man him up on R1. But you see, just because I think he got kind of pressed at the line of scrimmage, he goes in so far that the quarter flat doesn't really play him, and that's going to be our user. But again, you see we got pretty airtight coverage on all of our other routes. As far as another play, let's hop into like a stock flood look, something like this. I believe out of flood, and this coverage is really good at defending those tight end flat routes. So with Ian Thomas on that flat here, he should be defended relatively well. Again, this play would be pretty good against a stock cover 4, I think, with as far as beating it outside with that fade route. But because we deep half, it's not exactly going to be open. Again, the in route's going to be defended well. Really, with the running backs at this point in the game, the meta with Bunch is really just putting those running backs on those flat routes. So again, it's pretty rare for people to put them on any route besides a flat. So I feel pretty comfortable hard flatting if you wanted to. I could see a situation where maybe you man that outside linebacker on the running back, but until your opponent shows he's going to do something different, that's not an adjustment that we have to make. And yeah, here's a look. This is, again, stock flood on offense with just a basic route combo. You see A, he's going to be defended relatively well. You throw it, that's an easy pick. It's one of those really good bluff zones, those outside quarters, especially, again, make sure you don't adjust the zone drops, but it's one of those zones that's very baitish. You can really just kind of bait anybody into throwing that flat. It's not going to play it super hard, but it's going to kind of sit on it, kind of back up a little bit. Now, the out route is pretty good against this, and you can kind of find a situation to low ball. That's, again, a vert hook, I believe, defends those a little bit better. But overall, you need a lot of time to throw that, and again, we can still user whatever we want. As far as usering, I can also flip between these guys. If I wanted to user a die there, I could definitely do that depending on the coverage. And then I can kind of work over on RB. The reason I usually use this guy in today's game is because of the playmaker. That's something that you got to worry about. But again, I'll just show one more time against Z spot here. And again, I want to reiterate that this is not an every single down type of a play. It's something you got to mix in once every 3 plays, once every 4 plays. If you're having success, he's obviously struggling against it. You can start mixing it in more and more. And again, if he doesn't have an answer, don't go away from it, obviously. But be careful because, again, there is a little bit of deep play, deep throw potential. So, again, just be careful with that. It's a little bit of a risky defense, but overall, you shouldn't be able to get hit too deep from anywhere besides that deep left side of the field with a crosser or something. But yeah, that's just where you can't overcommit with your user. You got to recognize if there's a crosser on the field immediately. But yeah, you see tight end kind of open a little bit earlier. You see Derwin James going to play that relatively well. I'll kind of set that up one more time and see if we can kind of fit that corner out in. It shouldn't be too open, but again, we'll set up pretty much the same coverage here. Here's a look. Man, I'm up on the wrong guy, but yeah, pretty easy defense to set up as well. It's not too complicated. It's really 3-4 adjustments. As far as that D-line, you could also kind of spread it if you want. You can contain, you can spy a player. I can go with like a 2-man rush setup. Maybe I bluff blitz. Maybe I put A on a spy, something like this. But you can easily mix it up with a combo like that. But again, I'll set up this Z spot play, and we'll actually see if we can fit in that corner out this time. Again, on defense, put your user in a blitz, and we will just set things up. I'm going to stop using, but you see how kind of it's not really open. You see that was a bullet pass. That was a passing to the right. I don't have gunslinger, but you really can't lowball those deep corner outs as good as you want. And again, with a good click on, Casey Hayward's not really that fast either. That's a pretty easy breakup in coverage. But yeah, overall, that's going to do for the video. If you guys enjoyed, drop a like. Follow me on Twitter down below in the description. I drop updates there. You can ask me questions, DM me, whatever. And yeah, subscribe to the channel as well. We're on the road to 15,000, so hit that sub button if you enjoyed this video. And yeah, peace. I'm out of here.